Silverstone International, round 1. This winter has been difficult. We've done a lot on the cars, a lot of time spent in the garage late nights working on Rob's car, trying to get things ready to go for this opening round. But we got here. Cars in one piece, both cars are in one piece, and hopefully we can hit the track and show them what we got. Of course, everyone else has been working really hard over the winter as well, so we're gonna have a work cut out for us.
I've just been sat dry heaving in my car.
It's like me at Liddon Hill.
Yeah.
I was sat on the side of the car before the race too. I was so sick. Rob's ready. I'm ready. Not much more we can do than go out and prove it.
It's all of the above. To put a car together that can win, can be consistently quick, you've got to give it everything. And people laugh, it's only a mucky old 2CV, but you've got to give it everything.
It would be difficult to explain just how much we owe the people around us, the support and the help that we've been given over this winter, building Rob's car from scratch. There's not a person on the grid, there's not a person in either of our families or surrounding friends that we don't owe a huge amount to for their patience, time and energy. Even the viewers who watch my silly videos. So this is just a thank you. I slept. It got a bit cold, but I slept. I'm very tired. Yeah, not a wise choice. Oh no. Close up on my tonsils. Right, let's do the theatrics. Let's crack on and get down to business. It's qualifying, so hopefully we have a good session. We did test on the Friday, but neither car ran quickly and neither car ran without any issues, so that's going to be fun. We did get a chance to rectify those problems, but we didn't get another session to try out our fixes, so we were sort of just going into qualifying a little bit blind, wondering if what we had changed and what we had done had made any difference at all. So at this point, sort of just fingers crossed. Let's hope for the best. No plan to go out for qualifying. We were going to go out together and just sort of slipstream, provided that both cars were quick. That should be the fastest way to qualify, which is what the top guys tend to do. But without further ado, let's kick off the 2025 Classic 2CV Racing Championship with, hopefully, a bang. Maybe the wrong bang, but you'll have to stick around and find out. Here's qualifying. So here we go, qualifying for race 1. Let's go. Heading out the garage, we've already been split up, myself and Rob. Martin Ryman's nipped in between us, so hopefully Rob can pass Martin quickly, because I didn't really want to hang about at the beginning of this session. I wanted to get straight out and pass the pack ahead, which I have done, and as you can see, no sign of Robert, because he was struggling massively with a bit of a rear end issue. I'm not sure if it was the car or him, but a rear end issue nonetheless. So we'll head straight on to my fastest lap of qualifying, which was done on my own. And you'll find out why it was done on my own very shortly. But we head down the main straight, obviously completely flat out, and turn 1 in a 2CV is, of course, you guessed it, flat out. So we tip it in and head up towards turns 2 and 3, 3 being the first braking point, so you're just sort of optimising the straight line here, trying to straighten everything as much as possible as you head into the first braking. Hard on the brakes as late as possible, flick it in, try and get a bit of a late apex. If not, take all of the curb on the inside, let it drift out, don't drive the car out because that's scrubbing speed. Clip this inside, and then on your own for this corner you are pretty much flat out. I don't think I lifted at all when I was on my own. You can get round just by running a little bit wider, a bit cheeky, but it gets the job done as we head down the Wellington Straight, I think. Might be wrong. I'm terrible with corner names and straight names and stuff, but we head down this very long straight in a 2CV, of course, a bit longer than normal, but hitting about 82, I think 81 or 82 without a toe, and turning into Stowe. Tiny little bit of a lift and a turn in when you're on your own. You can do it flat out, I did it a couple of times, but you just scrub a little bit too much on the mid corner and exit. So a little bit of a lift back on the power, straight down the hill and into your second proper braking zone. Flick it in, again take all of that inside curb, flick it across to the right and take a little bit of that curb as well. It was suggested to me that I take a lot of that inside curb, but I never quite got round to it. And then obviously just straight lining it as much as possible out through the last corner and across the line. I move over because I can see there's some fast people way back in the distance behind, but I thought I'll slow down and stick to them and get a slipstream lap or drafting lap, because that's going to be a second or two straight away. And I was right as we follow the guys around. I think it was my second or third lap following them, and my delta was down to a 38.8, which would have been pole. But we head into Stowe, and the 92 car, I'm not sure what happened here. He hit the brakes very, very hard. I was not ready for it at all. I hit the brakes as quick as I could, but unfortunately and inevitably we collided. I ripped off my whole side wing, as you can see. Very angry with the situation. A little bit of tension in the air between myself and the Tete Rouge guys, but we had a conversation, myself and Brian, afterwards, and I think everything was sort of settled. So without further ado, we'll jump straight into the race. So unfortunately I forgot to press record on my camera for the first 7 or 8 minutes of the race, so you're going to have to see a bit of the BARC footage. But Chris Tovey on pole with Nick Crispin next to him, Brian Heary, Andrew Bull, myself over a second, or 2 seconds off the pace effectively, with Julie Walford and Robert right behind me, Sam Archer, Ethan Sparrow and Martin Sunderland, the top 10 in qualifying. So you can see the difference that a toe makes is just absolutely massive. So I don't think going out on my own next time is going to be the ideal strategy, but we did what we could, and it's just unfortunate that we had a bit of a coming together. I'm sure qualifying 2 will be a lot better. Matthew Arrowsmith Brown, Chris Yates on row 6, Simon Turner, Matthew Hollis on row 7, Colin Etchells, John Widdowson on row 8, and Martin Ryman in row 9 in last place. He had a few issues with his car. Unfortunately, luck is not Martin's friend over the past year or so. He's just struggled so much with mechanical issues, which has stopped him from competing right at the front, because he's a seriously fast driver and he deserves a bit of luck to go his way. But green flag waves at the back of the grid, waiting for that red light to come on. There we go, red light, and we're off. We are moving, I can promise you that. If you keep your eye in the centre, there's a black and gold car, black car with gold stripes. That's Rob's car, of course you probably know that. And he drops like a stone to the back of the grid. Bit of a shifting issue, couldn't find second. But it is Nick Crispin with a better start from Chris Tovey as they go side by side through turn 1, followed by teammates Andrew Bull and Brian Heary side by side as well, round turn 1 and down into turn 3. Then, of course, myself in 5th, with a bit of gap to Steve Walford and Ethan Sparrow. There's Chris Yates there as well. And the old Bacon racing car, now number 42, that's been sold and bought as the Bacon drivers have moved on to better things, bigger and better endeavours. As we head around and onto the back straight, it is Chris Tovey leading by a little bit of a margin from Brian Heary. It's then Andrew Bull and Nick Crispin who are side by side with myself following, and Ethan Sparrow having a look down the inside of Steve Walford with Chris Yates very close in tow. But I pull out down the inside to have a go at the two, Andrew Bull and Nick Crispin, and I get the job done quite nicely, and I've got Brian Heary ahead of me, which you can't quite see because I forgot to press record, but he's ahead and I'm having a look to try and get down the inside of him. I was a little bit eager to try and get second place because I wanted to go and sit behind the leader for most of the race. If only plans were that simple, but I shoot it down the inside of Brian Heary, very nice and clean, but a little too late on the throttle, scrubbed too much speed on that exit, and Brian Heary flies straight back past me as I just lost far too much on the exit there. And here is Nick Crispin as well. He's got a good run. In fact, everyone behind me had a good run because I just completely ruined my exit there as I get swamped now by everyone and their nan. 3 wide going to turn 1. Brian Heary's lost out because I managed to get a little bit of a side draft from Nick Crispin as we go side by side for second place down into turn 3. But Andrew Bull's having a look as well, and it's going to be 3 wide, I think, as Brian Heary has a look down the inside as well. I'm on the outside, but I hold it and I cut across the two of them. Nick Crispin actually losing out a little bit there, and Andrew Bull just in the wrong place at the wrong time to try and get that job done. So we've secured second place, and it's now time to just sit and push Chris Tovey along, try and get a gap if we can, but effectively just try and be as quick as possible so we don't get any challenges from Brian Heary. I think at this point though I highly underestimated how quick Brian Heary's car is in a straight line. Absolutely phenomenal. They properly had the engine set up perfectly for Silverstone, so yeah, I have to watch out for the rest of the race for Brian Heary having a look. But we've built a little bit of gap, and I'm happy just to sit here behind Chris Tovey. But I have a feeling that my hand may be forced somewhat very soon. Not willing to make a move on Chris here. It'll be a lot faster for us to go together out in front and sort of just try and keep the lap times up as much as possible. But I lose out a little bit on the exit there, and Brian Heary is there ready to pounce as he drives into the back of me very nicely, bump drafting me along a little harder than I'd like, but the push was there, and I sort of had to make a decision at that point. Do I let him fly past the two of us, or do I take first? And I thought I may as well just jump ahead and take first. If Brian Heary wants to help us along, maybe he'll push us along and get away, because if I can get away with Brian Heary's engine behind me, that would be a fantastic little fight towards the end of the race between the two of us. Unfortunately, my engine was not set up perfectly, and I was struggling massively down the straights, which you will very soon see as I actually pull a nice gap through the corners, maybe a car length or two from Brian Heary. But as soon as we get on the straights, no matter what I did, it was just not happening. As you see, I actually went faster through that corner. Obviously, no slipstream, so that's going to be a hindrance. Brian Heary's got Nick Crispin behind him as well, pushing. So I sort of weave across the track, trying to break the toe. I don't know why I thought that would work, but it looks good on camera at least. But Brian Heary is arriving on the scene and wastes no time at throwing it down the inside of me. Nick Crispin also ready to have a look if I make a mistake, but I decide I'm going to try and hold it around the outside. I very foolishly thought that was a great idea, but it actually put me in completely the wrong place, heading down into Vale, as I just didn't have the confidence on the brakes here, but I do what I can to try and maintain second, cut down the inside of Brian Heary, try and hold it around the outside of Nick Crispin. I knew I'd lose out on the exit, but if I could just tuck in behind him, that would be great. But I've actually gone a bit too fast around the corner, so I can't tuck in behind him, and so I'm out of the tow, and everyone else is still in the tow. It's just it's an absolute mind games on tracks. I decide to tuck behind Nick Crispin as the other three take their own train, and the two Tete Rouge cars now push to take a 1-2 in the standings. But I give Nick Crispin a bit of a nudge down the straight just to get him ahead of Brian, and try and hold things around the outside again. You'll find a reoccurring theme is me attempting to go around the outside, which may play into my hands later on. It may not. We'll see. But Brian Hearing diving down the inside of Crispin as I try and defend third place from Chris Tovey and Andrew Bull, as they have a little bit of a tete-a-tete around the infield section, and Brian going a little bit wide there. But I stick in the slipstream down the main straight once again, 9 minutes left on the clock. Nick Crispin patiently sitting and waiting. I think he had the same idea as me, as if he can get into second, he might just sit behind, but possibly not, as he looks like he's going for a move. So did not remember that happening, and I'm going to try and nip down the inside. Nick Crispin, of course, a sort of teammate of mine, as we're in the Constructors' Championship together. So if there's anyone I'm going to be helping out, the preference would, of course, turn to Nick Crispin to push him along as I have a look at second place. But Brian diving down the inside again, very strong on the brakes, that man. Very confident on the brakes as he manages to defend second place quite fiercely from myself. And I've now got Tovey right behind me. Is he going to give me a push, or is he going to pass me and leave me for dead as well? Because even in the tow, I really was struggling quite a bit. More in the acceleration phase of the corners. Maybe me just not getting on the throttle fast enough, but I have a feeling that I just was missing a little bit out on the jetting. The AFR was slightly off as well, so I possibly should have been a little bit more fierce at rectifying that issue in qualifying. But I choose Brian Heary this time, as it looks like Nick Crispin was sort of getting left for dead, so I sort of throw it down the inside. Nick Crispin has nowhere to go, and he goes wide, almost loses the rear, and doesn't quite hit the gravel. Keeps himself on track, and he tucks in behind Andrew Bull there. You can see in the rear view camera. But now I have Andrew Bull having looked down the inside as I tried to have a look at defending from Chris Tovey, but it didn't go very well, and now Brian Heary has pulled himself a nice gap ahead of the four of us, and Nick Crispin already, even after going off, is just absolutely eating me up. I don't know what I did there, but it was obviously completely wrong, as I go from second to fifth in the matter of a few seconds, just 2 corners, and it hasn't gone well for me that time round. So it's Brian Heary followed by Tovey, Bull, Crispin and myself, and there's a bit of gap now to Steve Walford, Ethan Sparrow and Chris Yates. Heading down into turn 3 once again. I'm not attacking you, Nick, don't worry, but I had to keep that toe as he has a look down the inside of Andrew Bull. He takes the lead. Is Bull going to hold it around the outside? Gets shoved a little bit wide, a little bit rude from Nick Crispin there. Oh, and over the sausage curb goes Andrew Bull, and kicks up a bit of dust on the entry as well. I think that might have been me. Nope, I think it was Andrew Bull as he went a little bit wide. Must have just caught the gravel a little bit there. Bit of a touch on the rear wing as he tries to get back on track, but I was being a bit rude on closing the door then. Didn't really want him coming alongside me and using that side draft as I sit behind Nick Crispin once again, and it's now Tovey making a move for first place. As you see the gaggle behind Rob Dawson making up a few places already. It's a little bit of a slow start for him, but he has managed to get into the middle of that midfield gaggle as we finally get some onboard footage from myself front facing as we follow the 3 leaders down the hill once again into Vale, hard braking, turn in, take all of that curb, and I got a little bit of an opening there, but I didn't get on the throttle fast enough because I felt the car starting to scrub and I didn't want to wash into the side of one of my teammates' cars. Wouldn't be a very smart idea as we head down the straight again, and I think that lift has just left me a little bit wanting for speed as we head down the straight, and I may be a bit vulnerable to Andrew Bull now as we head through turn 1 eventually, because we're not going that fast, through turn 1 and Bully already right on the back of me and give me a bit of a push through the corner. Is he going to set himself up for a move? The option, do I defend, do I not? But I'm catching a lot on Nick Crispin, so I think I might be able to have a little sneak down the inside, but I wasn't quite there in time, and so I had to sort of semi-return to the racing line to get a good entry and follow these guys through, because they seem very eager, especially Brian Heary, very eager to get to the front of this pack again. Lots of moves being made, lots of mind games going on. It's going to take a lot to win this race, so we keep pushing, sit behind Nick Crispin, try and get that toe as much as we can, but they are just pulling away that little bit. I think Bully and I both suffered just a little bit with a straight line speed, more coming out of the corners, but again, could just be jetting. As Brian Heary looks down the inside of Tovey, takes the corner, they're all braking a little bit, so I take that opportunity to close right back up on them again as we head down into Vale once more. Tovey getting pushed just a little bit wide there, but he's holding it down the inside, and they're going 3 wide into Vale. It's Crispin on the outside, it's Tovey on the inside, and it's Bully, it's Brian in a sandwich. But I decide to take initiative and throw it in down the inside of Nick Crispin and try and follow Tovey round the outside of Brian Heary. But unfortunately, Brian gets the better of Tovey, and Tovey pulls straight into that slipstream, and I then lose that slipstream as Nick Crispin falls back a little bit as well, having to give a little bit of room to me. But he gets a side draft and he comes in front, and then I get a side draft and I start edging ahead of him as well. All the time Bully is sitting behind, ready to make a move on the two of us, and the leaders are just pulling away. So not the smartest racing from myself, as Nick tries to defend from Bully, but Bully throws it up the inside, and I'm vulnerable on the outside, and I've just got to let it happen and tuck in behind them again. So once again, down into 5th, just struggling to keep on the back of the fast guys. Just too much straight line for me. I can't keep up, but we'll do what we can through the corners as Bully and Crispin get a little bit feisty on the exit, and I decide I'm going to push Crispin up the hill ahead of Bully. He moves across to defend Bully because he knows Bully's about to get the side draft on me. I get pulled back by the side draft of Bully, and again he gets in front of me. So we're going to go side by side round Stowe. Can I hold it round the outside? Got the turn in, get the power on. We're still side by side. He's there, but he's coming across. He just pushes me off a little bit, and I cheekily hold my foot in it to keep 4th position. He's losing out just a little bit, and no, he's dived down the outside, and I've not seen him. I could have given him a little bit more room there as he tries to move around the outside. Maybe caught off a little bit by my positioning there. Possibly could have done a bit better, but we secured 4th place at least, and we now have 1 lap to try and get the guys ahead beaten. But it's going to be a hard ask as Brian Heary and Chris Tovey are just that little bit too far ahead. It's going to be a fight between teammates down into Vale, I think, between myself and Nick Crispin if nothing happens. You see there Robert Dawson having a fight now for 8th place. He managed to pick those guys off very quickly and takes the place from Sam Archer, who then gets shuffled back behind Simon Turner. But we head up towards Stowe for the final time, and I'm just too far away. I don't think there's anything I'll be able to do here, so I just chuck it in through Stowe, try and gain as much time as possible as we head down the hill into Vale for the last time. Andrew Bull's dropped off a little bit, had a couple of moments this lap. I'm just hoping that something happens ahead because I've got to make a move as I throw it as late as possible, turn in as early as possible, try and get a little bit of a cut back on Nick Crispin, but I can't get the power on quick enough, and I just don't have enough time. So across the line, around the last corner, and then across the line is Brian Heary, who takes the first win of the season, followed by Chris Tovey, Nick Crispin, myself, and Andrew Bull just behind us as I pull alongside my teammate. Give him a thumbs up and a clap, and yeah, I mean, a hard-fought race there between us. But here's the fight with Robert Dawson, teammate in the 20 car, as he fought back from last place all the way up to 8th, and he manages to hold on, but he's got Simon Turner looking round the outside of him, and Simon's got Sam Archer on the inside, but Rob manages to hold on to 8th place, which is a fantastic comeback from him. So there we go, 4th position is all I could muster this time round. It was Brian Heary, followed by Chris Tovey, Nick Crispin, myself, Andrew Bull, Ethan Sparrow in 6th, Julie Walford 7th, Robert Dawson comes across the line in 8th, Simon Turner 9th, Sam Archer, Matthew Hollis, Martin Sunderland, Matthew Arrowsmith-Brown and Colin Etchells. And it was Brian Heary, of course, with the fastest lap of a 1 minute 40.003, I believe it was. So good effort from him and a round of applause all round. That was race 1. 4th place, not too bad. Could have had a little bit more maybe, but not a bad start to the season. If you did enjoy the video, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, hit the like button, and leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts. For now, see you at race 2. Bye!